Before I begin this video, I would like to mention that I was once a One Piece hater. Like literally everyone in existence, I thought the anime was way too long, so I could never get into it. And I also thought that since it was so long, it would eventually become worse and worse. Not only this, but I thought the art style was so ugly. The characters were so tall and lanky and weird looking that it just turned me off at first. And the only thing I knew about Luffy was that he could expand his body and make his fist bigger, which wasn't something younger me was interested in apparently. All that, alongside the fact that One Piece fans kept calling it the greatest anime ever, didn't sit well with me. I mean, how could it? I was a Naruto enthusiast and I died defending it. Of course, I no longer hold any of these thoughts. Yes, the show is long, but who says you have to spend all your time on it? You can always just watch a little bit here and there, take a break, or read the manga. I personally enjoyed taking my time watching it, and now older sections of the show seem nostalgic. And the show starts off pretty fine, but it actually gets increasingly better over time. So that was a very ignorant thought that I had. And the art style is actually pretty nice, especially in the manga. From my experience, it seems like the anime just enhances the cartoony aspects and leaves out some of the beautiful details. And Luffy's ability is actually really cool. I like how he can use it in various scenarios. Not only that, but I like the metaphoric uses of his abilities. Rubber is a material that can bounce back. Therefore, being a rubberman, Luffy's tenacity is far higher than the rest. And as the show goes on, we see far more powerful abilities than Luffy's, and yet he is still able to keep up. And after watching and reading all the way up to the Wano arc, I can say that in my opinion, One Piece is better than Naruto. I don't want to get into it that much in this video, but I'll just say that I personally think One Piece handles its characters and world building far better than how Naruto does. And I simply prefer watching a group of pirates go on an adventure more than a kid chases alleged best friend and try to become the ninja president. I still love Naruto though, but after watching more anime and reading more manga, I can see that it was a great but flawed story. At the end of the day, enjoyment will always affect my opinion, and I simply enjoy One Piece more. But I digress. As I watched One Piece, I slowly came to all these realizations, but the arc that let me know all my assumptions were dead wrong was none other than Water 7 and Enies Lobby. I like to include both as one big arc or saga due to how closely connected they are, so that is how I will refer to them in this video from now on. One of the main reasons I love this arc is due to how well it fits in the context of the story. The Straw Hats just came falling down from the fabled Sky Island and the ship is in horrible condition. As a result, Luffy needs a professional shipwright to fix up the Going Merry. So they set their sights on Water 7, an island known for its wonderful shipwrights. Very briefly, I want to appreciate the effort Oda put in creating the city of Water 7. It is so detailed with its own systems and mechanics, and on top of that, it's visually pleasing. Just what I expect from a place inspired by Venice. And all of this just helps the world One Piece feel fleshed out and real in a sense. This arc contains about 2 initial conflicts. As stated before, the ship needs help and the situation with Robin. In brief terms, for those that don't know, Robin is the crew's archaeologist, and the way she joined the crew was very whim-like, leaving us the audience and the crew unaware as to who she truly is. In other words, she wasn't really a member yet. And then out of the blue, a Navy admiral appears and warns Luffy that Robin will only bring them pain and suffering, a nice non-subtle foreshadow as to what the upcoming arc holds. And suffering she did bring. It's from these 2 initial conflicts that multiple subplots, subject to evolving and interconnecting, originate. And they all fit perfectly together without one overshadowing the other. These subplots consist of the Going Merry being untreatable, Usopp being robbed of $200 million of the $300 million that they were going to use to repair the ship, Iceberg's meeting, Robin disappearing, and these mysterious figures, which I'll touch on in a bit. From this point on, the story falls perfectly into place, and things are slowly heating up. Luffy has to decide if he should keep the Going Merry or get a new ship entirely. But before he does that, he has to avenge Usopp, who was brutally beaten and robbed by the Frankie family. They crash the hideout and leave the place a junkyard. And there Luffy comes to a decision. they'll say farewell to the merry-go. This single statement holds much more weight than deciding on what ship they will travel with from now on, because out of everyone on the ship, Usopp holds a deeper connection to the going merry. The ship was given to them by his childhood friend back at Syrup Village. It is more than just a ship to him, it's like an extra crewmate, a memento of his past. And as the audience, seeing Luffy come to his decision without consoling Usopp first is a perfect use of dramatic irony and builds tension in the upcoming scenes, which are When I first watched this scene, I was completely shocked for a multitude of reasons. One being that the dialogue was so on point and realistic in a sense. I truly feel like this is a very real argument the Straw Hats or anyone in a similar predicament could have. Every word spoken was completely in character and it felt like it wasn't even scripted anymore. It was as if Oda stopped controlling the characters for a second and let them act on their own as real people. And I just love how Luffy loses control and almost tells Usopp to leave the crew. Then seeing Sanji jump in to stop him was chilling. Luffy is the captain and his words are final. If he were to say such things out of anger, the consequences would be tremendous. I didn't think Oda would go that far with his characters, but he definitely proved me wrong. 2 being that I love what this did for the story. Up until this point, it has been sunshine and rainbows for the Straw Hats, and finally see them crack was something I didn't know I needed to see. That might sound a little sadistic, but if everything went right in a story, it would be overwhelmingly boring. And 3, what it sets up for in the upcoming scenes. After the argument, Usopp states that he's leaving the crew, and he challenges Luffy to a duel for the going merry. After the fight, the relationship will be over. Quick side note, but before this arc, I kinda liked Usopp, but I couldn't get past his wimpy and petrified nature. However, after seeing him take a stand for something he cares about deeply, I couldn't help but gain respect for him. He's still a punk though, and I don't care if he's the most realistic character. That doesn't really change how I feel about him. Anyway, Luffy versus Usopp. When I first heard Usopp challenge Luffy, I honestly thought he was going to get steamrolled, but I was wrong. He put up a pretty good fight, yet the injuries he got prior caught up to him, and Luffy's endurance was too much. I also want to mention that this is one of my 2 issues with the arc. Usopp claims that he knows how to defeat Luffy, yet he doesn't use salt water, Devil Fruit Eater's one universal weakness, in any shape or form. Am I the only one who thought he would pull out water balloons full of seawater and fight Luffy like that? I understand why Oda didn't do this to some degree, but it kind of felt like a slap to the face, since it was never explained why Usopp didn't use them. Maybe it was honor, but then again they are pirates, so I'm not sure. Nonetheless, I thought this was a beautiful fight scene, not because of the visuals, but because of the story it told. Usopp has been feeling weak for a while, and with the current situation, he was able to speak on how he truly felt about himself and the crew. He doesn't feel as if he belongs, and this is his way of exiting. Luffy, on the other hand, has to play the role of the captain. A captain can't waver, because if he does, who can the crew trust? The fight ends with Luffy winning, allowing Usopp to take the merry anyway. Then we get a shot of Luffy crying for the first time ever in 332 chapters and 236 episodes. The act of knocking not only his crewmate down, but one of his best friends breaks him. As if it already wasn't bad enough that Usopp left the crew, an Aqua Lagoon, an annual high tide that severely floods the city, was coming, it turns out Robin disappeared with CP9, a secret government organization that does the dirty work. And their current goal is to capture the blueprints of the ancient weapon Pluton and anyone who can activate it. Thus CP9 and Robin attempted to murder the mayor of Water 7, Iceberg, the person who supposedly has the blueprints. And since Robin was there, CP9 can put the blame on the Straw Hats. With 2 crewmates gone and the whole island against them, the Straw Hats are truly falling apart. That is, until the following night. After a confrontation with CP9 and Robin, we learn that CP9 is actually some of the shipwright workers who are undercover and that the blueprints Iceberg had were counterfeit. We also learned that Robin is working for them because she has a wish that can't be granted while she's with the Straw Hats. Luffy refuses to take that as her reasoning, but with his current situation, he can't stop her from leaving. For right now, at least. While all that is going down, Usopp has been kidnapped by Frankie. Well, not really. He took Usopp and the Mary to his old workshop turned hideout. There, Frankie and Usopp talk out their differences and hold no grudges. They both caused each other lots of pain and decided to call it 50-50. Soon afterwards, Frankie asked Usopp a simple question. What are you gonna do after you fix the ship up? Usopp responds with an overly optimistic response, stating that he will sail all the way back to the East Blue with the Mary. Now on mutual grounds with Usopp, Frankie goes out his way to show Usopp that that isn't possible. The assessment the shipwright workers gave was accurate. The ship is at the end of her life. Deep down in his heart, Usopp knows the ship cannot be fixed, but he's stubborn. He sees the ship as if it was a real friend. Unfortunately, before they talk over the matter, CP9 busts in to capture Frankie since he supposedly has the real blueprints. This is also where we get Frankie's backstory. In my opinion, this is one of the better backstories, not because it was extremely touching, though it was. It's because learning that Tom is not only Iceberg's and Frankie's mentor, but that he was also the same man that built the Pirate King's ship. And for that very same reason, Tom is put on trial, but he makes a bargain with the judge. At the time, Water 7 was in a depression, and Tom believed that building a train that could cross the seas to other islands to help with importing and exporting would help get rid of said depression. However, the project needs lots of time, since Tom and his disciples are the only ones capable of such a job. Thus, Tom was given 10 years to build the sea train. After 10 years, the sea train is complete and it has helped Water 7 just like Tom imagined. Yet, he still must appear in court. Though this doesn't seem like much of a problem due to Tom's good behavior since he built the sea train and all. However, there are people in the government out there who still want Tom locked up, and they'll go to extreme measures to get it done. Some secret agents of the government went out their way to use Frankie's old ships against the court boat in an attempt to frame Tom. Though they weren't his ships, Tom took responsibility for Frankie's creation. This leads to Frankie stating that he wished he never built those ships, and Tom snaps. No matter what happens, you must love what you create. And these are the words Tom lives by, and unfortunately, he'll die by those words too. Frankie goes on a rampage. He even tried to stop the sea train carrying Tom's dead body with his bare hands, leading to his cybernetic body. This was a very enjoyable flashback, and I loved how it foreshadowed Frankie joining the crew. Tom built the Pirate King's ship, and Frankie will soon follow his mentor's footsteps. It also has a bit of world building since Tom is from Fishman Island, an island we have yet to see. We cut back to the present shortly afterwards, and CP9 is carrying Frankie away, along with Usopp because he was part of the Straw Hats. CP9 heads to the sea train to make their exit, but unaware to them, not only did Luffy and the rest of the Straw Hats survive, but Iceberg is still alive as well. This is where Luffy learns the truth of Robin's actions. Robin has been blackmailed by CP9 to steal the blueprints of the ancient weapon, and after stealing the blueprints, she must reactivate it. However, it is not all grim for her. In return for her service, the Straw Hats will not be harmed. Now knowing the truth, the crew has a clear goal in mind and sets out. Meanwhile, Sanji catches CP9 leaving on the sea train and sneaks in. This is off topic, but when I saw this scene, I thought Sanji being separated from the crew, being somewhere inconvenient for the antagonist, or somewhere he shouldn't be, would be a new trope for him, like how Zoro always gets lost. In a sense, it is true, but of course he has a more overbearing trope. Anyway, while Luffy prepares the trail behind Sanji on an older sea train model, the Frankie family approaches him. Since their goals align somewhat, they wish to ride along on the train. Being the character he is, Luffy allows them to come along. For Luffy to forgive the Frankie family for robbing Usopp, which ultimately led to their big fight, was powerful. Now from this point onward, it is technically no longer Water 7, it is Enies Lobby. But the way this train section connects both arcs and how the arcs are only a few hours apart from each other made me originally think that they are the same. And at the end of the day, we can agree that they are a part of the same saga at the very least. But I digress. Speaking of this train section though, it's one of my favorite moments from this saga besides Usopp vs Luffy and some upcoming content. We get to see some more Sanji screen time because who doesn't love that, as he infiltrates the train and frees Usopp and Frankie. Shortly after freeing them, they are confronted by an onslaught of enemies, and here, Usopp has to decide if he'll help them free Robin or leave. In his heart, he wants to help Robin, but how can he face the crew after all the inconveniences and humiliation? Of course, by making a new identity. With complete bias, I think Saga King is the best thing to come from Usopp's character. It's a wonderful response to the present circumstances that reflects his character, and is a perfect example of the goofiness of One Piece that I love so much. And we can finally see Usopp act in a more brave manner, though it does come from an alter ego. Everything about this character is just enjoyable to me, especially the design of the mask. Anyway, they get into some fights on the train with a few notable moments like the introduction of the 6 powers of CP9 and some nice character moments for Sanji. But it all ends with Robin still refusing to go with them. She's scared and knows something that they don't. Sanji is left behind feeling humiliated. But soon after he meets up with Luffy and the rest again, they come up with a simple plan to infiltrate Enies Lobby. Nothing from this infiltration part is really notable to me except for 2 things. One being Usopp meeting some giants, and we get a nice callback to the giants on Little Garden, and Usopp's motivation to visit Elbaf. This is a nice touch of world building which One Piece is second to none with. And the other being... This was honestly a surprise to me for some good and bad reasons. I like Gear 2's inclusion. It makes total sense given the current events. Luffy needed to get stronger if he wanted to continue his adventure along with his friends. But Gear 2 came out of nowhere. We were given a very brief explanation as to what it was, but that doesn't change the fact that there was no foreshadowing, no training or anything. And I could definitely be wrong here, but that seems to be a common trend with techniques in One Piece. They kinda just appear with no build up, and most of the time, I think it's okay. For example, when Usopp learns a new technique, it is just assumed that he came up with it while crafting in his workshop, or he made it up on the fly. Or even Gear 3. Luffy just blows air into himself, which is pretty simple and understood that he could have learned that at any time. But with something as big, for the time, as Gear 2, it seems a little outlandish. Nonetheless, I still like Gear 2 and what it adds to the story down the line. My disappointment with Gear 2 was very small and was soon overshadowed by the following scenes. The Straw Hats finally catch up and are only a building away from Robin. Luffy takes this opportunity to confront her once more, but she still refuses and even claims that she wants to die. It is clear that she is traumatized, especially when a Buster Call is mentioned. As the audience, we have no idea what a Buster Call is, and out of all the main characters, only Robin knows. This is when we witness her backstory. Robin comes from an island called Ohara, an island known for the great archaeologists. And 20 years ago, the archaeologist group Robin associated with were researching the Void Century, a time period devoid of any historical records. However, research in this time period is extremely illegal, and once the world government learns of their behavior, a Buster Call is given. A Buster Call is the greatest action that can be performed by the Navy. It has one goal and one goal only: to destroy. It does not matter who is caught in the fire, there has to be nothing left. The archaeologists who are close to Robin, an ex-vice admiral who befriended Robin, and even her own mother who she barely got to know, gone. She didn't have many friends or loved ones to begin with, but now she has none. She is only saved out of pity of one of the Navy admirals, Aokiji. Even still, she would have to live the rest of her life in fear of being betrayed until she became the one betraying. This is the power of a Buster Call. And now with some newfound friends, the thought of them being harmed because of her past haunts her. And how does Luffy respond to this? He declares war against the entire world government. The threat of a Buster Call does not faze him. He simply wants his friend back. And so, he asks Robin to say she wants to live. This was a really touching moment that made me realize that I love this anime. The fact it was able to deliver such strong moments back to back still amazes me to this day. What follows, of course, is the action. Once they make it to the other building, Luffy rushes to Robin while the rest of the Straw Hats are left to fight against the CP9 members to find Robin's handcuff keys. Not much I want to say about these fights except for the fact that every member of the crew is shown performing a new technique, which was nice. I enjoy all of these techniques equally for the most part, but I like the inclusion of Chopper's monster point the most. Seeing such an innocent character turn into a beast that attacks unconsciously for the sake of his friends was very chilling at first. Plus, I love the chaos it causes throughout the entire tower. Zoro's technique is probably my overall favorite though, and my favorite fight out of the section is definitely Frankie's. That CP9 member was funny to me. And now it's time to talk about the main event of this arc. Soon after the battles begin, Robin is set free, yet the job is not done. There's one last CP9 member in Luffy's way, Rob Lucci. I think it's safe to say that this was the best One Piece fight when it aired. Of course, I have to say when it aired because there's one fight that holds the cake in my opinion. But this fight has stakes, it has emotion, it has spectacle. The fight doesn't exactly tell a story like Luffy vs Usopp, but for that lacking department, it makes up in tension. This is the last hurdle the crew needs to get over, and Luffy is struggling. And I can't get enough of it. Let me explain. I obviously wanted Luffy to beat Lucci, but seeing him struggle was far more satisfying than seeing him win with ease, just because he has a new technique. And in the end, he wins with straight willpower and motivation. I also have to say that I love how the fight ends. The final shot is still ingrained in my mind. And with that, the Water 7 saga is over, right? Nope. There is still the issue revolving around the ship. With some help from the iceberg, the ship managed to float to the Straw Hats to assist them one more time. But after they get away, it breaks down and there's only one thing left to do. To let the going merry rest. Never in my life would I think I'd get emotional over a fictional boat, but here we are. I watched these characters travel on the boat for hundreds of episodes, and to see it really go was actually very saddening. It was really depressing seeing Luffy and even Usopp's reaction that was covered by his mask. The arc closes with the introduction of Luffy's grandfather, Monkey D. Garp. We learned that he took care of Luffy while he was younger, and he disapproves of his pirate shenanigans, but he'll overlook them for now, since he's his grandson. And we learn that Luffy's father is Monkey D. Dragon. We also get to meet Koby again, and he's grown a lot, and he vows to become an admiral, making him a natural rival to Luffy, not like he's an actual threat to him or anything. Meanwhile, Frankie is building the Straw Hats a new ship, with the material from the World Tree, a costly material only sold on the black market, and it is that purchase that Frankie used the stolen 200 million on. And of course, Luffy recruits Frankie as his shipwright. But what about Usopp? At this point, the crew knows that Usopp wants to come back, but Zoro has some conflicting words. He's fine with Usopp coming back, but not if he doesn't apologize. He refuses to have a captain that allows people to walk over him and join and leave the crew at any time they want. And so, they wait for Usopp's apology. And the scene that follows was yet another touching one. As Usopp apologizes for his ill-mannered ways, we see Luffy cry for the second time ever in the series. But this time it wasn't sadness, it was relief. The Straw Hats blast off, escaping Garp with 2 returning and 1 new crewmate. I absolutely love this saga. To this day, it is my favorite section of the anime, only rivaled by arcs like Sabaody and Whole Cake Island. This arc was a fresh breath air too, especially after coming from the poorly adapted Skypiea arc and the extremely odd yet comedic arc that was this. I was starting to think that One Piece was a weak show, but this arc proved me wrong. It really had it all. Great character moments from every Straw Hat, foreshadowing, world building, a new crewmate, emotional scenes, and of course, some good action. This arc showed me why One Piece was One Piece, and why this show is so long. No big goal in someone's life, especially becoming the Pirate King, it is going to be an easy A to B journey. There are going to be things that might steal your focus for a while. There are going to be things you need to gain in order to prepare, and much more. One Piece just decides to give these little moments the room they need to shine. Because in an adventure, it is these little moments that will make it memorable. So you might as well enjoy them. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and consider subscribing. And tell me, what's your favorite One Piece arc? What arc or scene convinced you that you love One Piece? And if you don't like One Piece, what are you doing? Leave. Thanks again for watching. Peace.